What's going on, everybody? Nick with Combat Sports World. Now, I want to start this off by apologizing for the background, guys. We're actually in the process of building a brand new studio right now, but I had to get this video out. Korean Zombie versus Frankie Edgar. How was the Korean Zombie able to finish the great Frankie Edgar so quickly? I think I may have some ideas. Now, I noticed a few things that the Korean Zombie was doing very early against Frankie Edgar and things that the Korean Zombie did against Hanato Moicano, because these are things that I myself do. It is the art of countering the jab. Now, if you go and watch Frankie Edgar versus Korean Zombie, you will notice very early on that the Korean Zombie waits. He waits and he does small things to try to draw the jab off of your opponent, such as his lead shoulder will be forward here, and he will reach and paw forward with the rear hand. What this does is it gives an illusion that he is much closer than he is, and he is not in a very good position to throw a counter shot. What that causes is it causes Frankie Edgar, who is a very jab-heavy individual already, which I should have noticed from the beginning when this fight came out, that was going to be a tell for this fight going in Korean Zombie's favor. Frankie Edgar would have, or Korean Zombie rather, would be in his normal boxing stance, switch his rear shoulder forward and start pawing in the same stance with the rear hand. What would then Frankie Edgar do? Throw the jab. Once Korean Zombie got Frankie Edgar comfortable throwing his jab, that's when he went into his technique. Korean Zombie was keeping his lead hand then very low near the hip where Frankie Edgar cannot see. Korean Zombie from then was throwing check left hooks off of Frankie Edgar's jab, because Frankie Edgar likes to jab, and then when Frankie Edgar enters the pocket, he throws jab 2. When he's throwing that 2, Korean Zombie is timing it so that his check hook is meeting as Frankie Edgar's jab hand is coming back to his face and as his right hand is leaving to throw the strike. Korean Zombie's right here, and he throws the wide check hook up and over the top of Frankie Edgar's straight right, hitting him every single time. Now, a check hook is when you know that your opponent is coming forward, so you will step. If I'm throwing the check hook with my left hand, I will step to my left. As I throw the hook, I will swivel my body to get my head offline. It is much of an avoidance as it is a aggressive strike. Frankie Edgar, being a smart individual, noticed that he was getting check hooked off of Korean Zombie's, or he was getting check hooked off of his own jab. So what's Frankie Edgar do as a smart individual? He makes an adjustment. Well, the Korean Zombie is obviously one of those fighters like an Israel Adesanya that is thinking 3, 4, 5, 6 steps ahead of you. That is thinking, hey, I know he just made this read. Therefore, I'm going to do this because I've already planned for it. Something similar to myself. I'm a very long, slender fighter. I am 6'8" and I fight at 185 pounds. And for the most part of my life, I haven't had to cut much weight to get to that weight class. So I can't, as a long, slender, skinny neck fighter, stand in the pocket and Mike Tyson with someone. I have to be very long. I have to be a style bender. Now, that makes it so that I don't have the graces to be able to close my eyes, throw an overhand, have it land, and put somebody down. There's a lot of people that can have that as their main stylistic approach and succeed, i.e. Derek Lewis. But I'm not able to do that. Israel Adesanya is not able to do that. Chan Sung Jung, most people think he does do that, but after seeing these last couple performances, I know for a fact that he's not. He knew that Frankie Edgar made the read on his long check hook, and he knew that Frankie Edgar would make the read before the fight even happened. So Korean Zombie had a set skill or a set combination to throw after Frankie Edgar made that read. What was that combination? Well, you go back and watch, it looks like he's just throwing a flurry, but he's not. Frankie Edgar is used to the lead hand being down and getting a hook thrown over the top of his right hand. What then happens is Frankie Edgar says, okay, I'm going to throw my jab, change levels a little bit, come over with the overhand, or shoot my takedown. Korean Zombie knows this. So what's Korean Zombie do? Waits for Frankie Edgar to engage off the jab, knows Frankie Edgar is going to try to counter his check hook. So Korean Zombie fakes the check hook, throws rear uppercut into left hook, which was landing every single time. Every single time, Frankie Edgar, the small amount of times that he was able to duck his head and throw his strike prior to being finished, the Korean Zombie, Chan Sung Jung, was countering with a rear uppercut, to left hook to right hook to left hook again. He probably threw that combination after he initially dropped Frankie Edgar, with that combination, mind you. He probably threw that combination 3 or 4 times completely successfully and then finished Frankie Edgar. And it wasn't as if this was something that he was just putting together in the middle of the combinations. No, this was something Frankie Edgar was getting beaten to the jump off of every single engagement. They would come, they would clash, they would reset, and then immediately on the re-engage, Korean Zombie was landing these combinations. There wasn't a second within that fight that Korean Zombie wasn't making a read and wasn't thinking multiple steps ahead of Frankie Edgar. It's not Frankie Edgar's fault. Korean Zombie is an absolute monster. Do not let his contest against Yair Rodriguez fool you. Don't let him leaving the sport for multiple years to go serve in the Korean National Army fool you. This is a very, very scary individual, and this is an individual that does not just go in there and throw strikes. There's a difference between a fighter that goes into the gym, trains his combinations, trains in-depth combinations, versus a fighter that goes, trains those combinations in conjunction with predicting what his opponent is going to do and how he will then double-cross his opponent. There's nothing more surprising than when somebody counters your counter. Think about that. If I throw a jab, you slip my jab and throw the overhand right and hit me, makes sense. I threw a jab, you knew the jab was coming, you read it, slipped and hit me. It's almost as if you have a brain fart. You really do, because you were expecting something to happen. You thought that you were the one who was a chess move ahead. And then all of a sudden you realize you're not. And this isn't like football when you get hit with a trick play and your demise is watching your opponent run a piece of leather into an area that's painted with a white stripe. This is, I mess up, I now have brain damage that will last my lifetime. It's not a joke. It's not good for anybody. And it wasn't good for Frankie Edgar. This is a matchup that he could have won. Despite being on short notice, Frankie Edgar was in camp for another fight. But we all should have seen that Korean Zombie has had a history of countering the jab very, very well. That's one of the catalysts to his game, how he'll just sit just outside of striking range, because he knows that most people, when they throw jabs, to not overcommit and get taken down, regardless if you're facing a wrestler or not, train to take small, minuscule movements forward while throwing the jab. When you throw a jab, most fighters will actually only go forward 4 to 8 inches. So you sit 4 to 8 inches out of striking range, know where he's at, know he's going to throw the jab, and know, hey, I'm 4 to 8 inches outside of his range. So I'll make sure that I pull back 2 inches when he throws. Korean Zombie does that for a living. We should have known. But I will not make that mistake again. I saw what happened versus Frankie Edgar. I saw what happened against Renato Moicano. You guys did not. He gave a left arm, a left shoulder shift downwards to draw and off of the jab of Renato Moicano, and then banged an overhand right, and that's all she wrote. Against Frankie Edgar, he drew in the jab, countering with the low hand lead check hook. When he realized, as he predicted, that Frankie Edgar was going to make this adjustment, make this read, he then went into step 2 of his plan, which was how to then counter Frankie Edgar's counter. He threw the same set of combinations. The fake left hand, rear uppercut, left hook, left hook, 3 or 4 times after making the initial read. It landed every single time, and Frankie Edgar was dispatched in the first round. What's next for Korean Zombie in the UFC featherweight division? Where does he go from here? I think I have a pretty good idea. Stay tuned. Oh, and always, stay combative, my friends.